Here we go. Welcome, everyone. I believe we are live. And give me a moment while I navigate the pages and make sure that I've got everything set up accordingly right now. We have a lot of things that we want to cover. Let me go ahead and close some of this because we don't need that. I'm going to go on YouTube. Just really quick, gonna switch over here, make sure I'm on the correct account, load up another Twitter, make sure Twitter's up and running. Twitter should have automatically sent out a tweet that I was going. Austin, can you say la 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 real quick? That did not pick up at all. No, so let's flip waters. And I'm going to go over here to the general chat and let me go ahead and go to screen 1. This is live in the Discord. Okay, that seems to be working. Let me double check the stream looks okay on the YouTube. Pop down the stream. We are live. All right. So, going back to me, what's going on? What's happened this week? Holy bearishness. Feels pretty bearish. Actually, I'm going to double check the tweet. I'm popping off a tweet right now. Come say hi to us. Come say hi. Ask questions. And make fun of me. In the chat. Tweet is sent. All right, and we're going to set up the phone over here because we are going to go live on TikTok. What's up, Toctic? I guess I actually got to move this plant up. If I move the plant up and rest it on a plant, is this too much or is it not enough? The world may never know. All right. So, we're live on TikTok. YouTube, say hello to TikTok. TikTok, say hello to YouTube. Okay. So, we're going to talk about this week, what's been going on. Holy bearishness. Fed Waller came out yesterday and he was saying inflation isn't peaked. Doubtful, my dude. Lots of analysts have gone through the data and they've clarified that they also are under the impression that this might not be true. But it also doesn't really matter. The Fed's got blinders on. They're going to continue the tightening no matter what. And remember that the quantitative tightening matters more than the actual interest rates. Just think of it as like a 2020. I almost unplugged that, which is really bad for the mic. We're Gucci. It's going to be like 2020, but in reverse. So I think this market's going to melt down. And let me see here if I pull this up. For everyone, bring this over to screen 1 before we kind of talk about some of the new stuff. I'm feeling super bearish. I actually thought we might get some sort of a bounce into earnings. And so I did have some, and coming into today, I had some AMD calls. Remember, if you're in the Discord, you can see all my trades. I post them all in there, what I do with my own personal money. But I had some AMD calls, which actually sold for a profit. Actually bought them early yesterday, then rolled them up. And I'm not sharing my screen. I'm such a dummy. Bought them early yesterday, then rolled them up. We got this bounce. One of the things that I was looking for, and here, let me pull it up down here so you can see it better. But TSM had earnings, and I was like, well, I imagine this will actually go fairly well, and then we should get a pop. And we did. We did get the mimic pop, and then the brutal sell-off. So this looks like that'll be the trend for earnings season. And that's extremely bearish. And actually, UVXY is over that 310 range. If you watch our last YouTube video, that was my super bearish range. I'm a bear above the 310, below the 310. I think there could be reasonable bounces, and we've seen that play out the entire week, actually, since I put out that video. So It's been pretty good indicator. So I exited these. I, one of the stocks, I go ahead and mention this, it wasn't in the news or anything, but I think Intel's in a really interesting position. And everything's fundamentally, all these stocks I think are going to melt down. But fundamentally, Intel, the CEO had this foresight to try and create these like extra supply chains well before any of this chaos began. And so I think this will really play out well for them in many, many ways. Hello, TikTok. I'm watching the comments. We are also live on YouTube. I see some people are joining in. And I do not actually have my YouTube comments show pulled up. So let me play with this real quick. I'm going to pull this over here, pull the market back up, continue talking about that. Anyways, I think Intel could actually benefit disproportionately to the rest of the market, which is cool. Let me pull this up and immediately mute that. I just want to see if you comment on the YouTube, I will see it. If you have any questions, if you ask a question on the TikTok about the markets, about the market close, about anything that we're about to discuss, we're going to be live for probably about half hour to 40 minutes, and I will answer whatever questions you have. I'm a full-time day trader. This is what I do. This is my bread and butter. I am happy to answer the questions. Anyways, I like Intel. I think Intel's in a really interesting position, and they've been continuing to kind of spark my interest. I think it's one of those nice, like out of the spotlight, but interesting, still well known, but out of the spotlight, and an interesting fundamental analysis playing into that domestic production supply chains that they've been creating over the past, 2 years, maybe 3 years. I think it was 2018, 19 when we first got that news. So that kind of sparked my interest. This foresight on that CEO, it's likely not the only good decision he's making. So I like that. I think the other thing that we should probably mention is, holy cow, uranium has continued to be a beautiful trade. If you've been following this since last year when we mentioned it, it's actually been over a full year since I put out my full first research report over that. And if we are on the yearly chart, but it's been a beautiful trade. I'm up 100% on that over the past year, and we've been, actually over 100%, but we've been buying all the dips and then kind of slowly allocating out as it rallies up. UUU's been another great one. CCJ and UUU are the two big uranium providers that I really like. If you are a more conservative investor, you can also buy URA. I think that's a great purchase as well. And the UUU position's actually been even easier to trade. We've had some more peaks and valleys in there, which has been nice, and it's very simple. I keep a certain allocation of percentages in there. As the stock begins to climb, it breaks my percentage allocation. I slowly sell out. When the dips come, I then slowly allocate on the way down. And I just keep that percent allocation. Super simple, hard to mess up. It works. That's why most hedge funds do that. That's why most portfolio managers act in that way. And so what we also got going on is I like oil still. And I saw lots of people, lots of financial Twitter celebrities were saying that they did not like oil. And then I put out my video last week on oil, and I said I still like oil. And in fact, I think it's headed into a super cycle. And I expect it to come back as rumors that China will reopen will come back. Sure enough, if we look at USO, it's played out exactly like that. And that was a very contrarian trade. That trade was way more contrarian than I expected it to be. But it played out beautifully. Maybe we're up a whole $10. So we also have calls, and those calls have done great. So I'm super happy about that. I think that's played out really well. A trade that's not playing out whatsoever would be my long play on bonds. Although what we're kind of waiting for there is the Fed to break the market, which, the Fed always breaks the market. We rolled those out, though. Those were out till June, so we weren't really in any danger. Just some little bit of sell-off. We rolled those out to September. just to make sure to catch what I think will probably be a crash later in the summer, something we also mentioned in the last YouTube video. Did I mention that we did a YouTube video? I don't know if I've mentioned that yet. Anyways, so what's going on in the news today? What just happened? Actually, what TikTok did I forget to upload before I went live? Shame on me. Smack, smack, smack. But Elon is trying to do a hostile takeover of Twitter. And let's go ahead. They're calling it hostile. I don't think it's hostile. I think it's in support of free speech. But people are starting to realize who actually owns most of Twitter. And it's pretty interesting to read all the comments on Twitter itself. Let's go over here. We have Prince Ali Walid bin Talal al-Assad. Am I saying that right? Saudi Prince al-Walid bin Talal al-Assad. Jeez, what a freaking mouthful. He's one of the largest Twitter shareholders, and he's rejecting Elon Musk's bid. This guy's not even an American. He doesn't even. They're over there like, oh, these stupid Americans. They want women to have rights and be able to drive, and now they want to be able to speak their mind. Ridiculous. Obviously, lots of people are upset, and this is starting to look like a battle between the corporate elites and the everyday person. Not to say that Elon Musk is an everyday person. Lots of people like to hate on Elon Musk, but you have to consider this guy's done more for the environment than anyone pretty much ever. Most of the EV companies that exist today are doing well because he gave them the blueprints for how to build their businesses. And he didn't even go after people that directly copied him, especially when it came to companies like Lucid. And when it came to Bezos copying his renewable rocket fuel. And the innovations that this guy has created just for the greater good of humanity. And the way that people still attack him is actually ludicrous when you really think about it, especially since he's not someone that really flaunts his wealth. Do you think he really cares about making a profit on Twitter? If he did, he wouldn't be bidding 30% over the company's market cap. That's ridiculous. He's trying to do a public good to the best of his knowledge. And you know what? I think that's more than a lot of other people are doing. So really can't blame him. So we're going to now see what Vanguard and BlackRock say. If you're not familiar with BlackRock, BlackRock basically owns everything. And, what else can you really say past that? Think of something, they own that. You might say, well, this is my cat, Steve. No, Steve is hoisted up with the elites. I'm just kidding. Anyways, so that's concerning, in my opinion, to see that the amount of backlash this is getting, to kind of see where the social sentiment is on the situation, I think is, I don't know, it just feels odd to me. Maybe I'm off base. I've been really wanting some feedback. Type it in the comments. Am I off base? Am I sounding like I'm making sense? Because to me, this seems like a concerning thing. But a lot of people just seem very whatever about it. And it's like, well, this is a battle for free speech. This is a battle for, Bill Maher was banned off Twitter, which is really counter to everyone saying, well, Twitter is just going after the crazy right-wing conservatives, which, by the way, I hold no political affiliation whatsoever. I couldn't care less. But, then they took even Bill Maher off. Bill Maher's been like a long time Democrat, comedian who's absolutely hilarious. So for people to go after him, it just seems ridiculous to me. Also, does anyone have any market questions? Still, we've been covering market. We covered some stocks. We covered my expectations for the market. Extremely bearish. We're seeing a sell-off in the close. We have earnings starting next week. I do think those earnings will be negatory. We're picking up some likes on the TikTok. Still no activity on the YouTube, which is fine. YouTube needs time to grow. So one of the things I actually wanted to further investigate here is that Elon apparently, and let's see if I can find this link here, but it was rumored that Elon had, and we're going to go to the Bloomberg guy. And I know some people just run through the stock tickers and are like, look at this ticker. Look, it moved. Look at this ticker. Look, it moved. Look at this ticker. Look, it moved. I'm not going to do that. We're going to talk about actual news and actual things going on. And I'm not going to, oh no, I'm getting a phone call. Stop that. Don't call me. I'm busy. Anyways, I'm not going to be one of these people that sits here with TA and just goes, look at this stock. It moved. All right. Anyways, I made that joke too many times. So we're going to talk about what's going on with the Fed members. Facebook said to pull back from podcasts after internal flurry. I'm not sure what that means or why they're ordering from McDonald's. Yes, I know that wasn't actually a McDonald's reference. Fazook CEO. That's not what I'm looking for. Yes, Twitter board views Musk takeover as unwelcome. Twitter board expected to fight Musk. This is what I was looking for. And if you're just joining in, I'm live on TikTok and on YouTube simultaneously. TikTok, say hello to YouTube. YouTube, say hello to TikTok. We're coming over what happened this week on the market. We're going over what my expectations are for next week. Earnings season coming up. What did the Fed just say? What is Elon doing with Twitter? We're going to talk about it all. And probably should actually, after we go over what's going on with Elon, we're going to cover what happened in China and what the expectations are there. And eventually, we'll also discover, will Josh ever get the mic adjusted to a point at which he's happy with it? Unlikely. If you're on the TikTok, can you please just quickly let me know before I continue how well you can hear my voice or cannot hear my voice? Can you hear me okay? Someone want to write a comment? Post something down below. Give me a little heart kissy face if you can hear me okay. That'd be cool. What's all right, sweet. Sweet. Okay. So let's go back to what's going on with Elon. Actually, let's tune into the Discord. Austin, are you there? You can hear me okay? Yeah, word. All right. Austin is one of our sweet traders in the Discord. We're live every day for private live streams in the Discord, by the way. All right, so let's go over what's going on with Twitter. And actually, the information wants me to pay a subscription, and I want them to stop being lame. So Elon bidded $43 billion for Twitter. And actually, I said earlier that was well over the market cap. But, what we can do to actually look that up is we can go to FinViz. If you're not familiar with FinViz, FinViz is usually bookmarked on my computer. That's FINVIC. And it's a really great website if you're just trying to look up some quick information on a stock ticker. And as you can see here, we got all this information down here. Oh yeah, he's he's $5 billion over the actual market cap on the company. If we look at the stock actually and try to see how it reacted. Actually, let me hit F11 here. Not meaning to click that. Yeah, we did see some sell off here. I mean, just to return to what seems to be like a new trend. See, this kind of looks like USO, where let's put these both on in like an hour chart. Nah, probably not. What the spin out? Look at this, me making myself look stupid. I'm trying to paint a picture here. Now the picture makes sense. This looks like a new cycle. You see, where we have this trend where it's just accumulating. And actually, if you even go further out on Twitter, you see this is a trend. And then this is a new Elliott wave cycle. Or if we're actually this far out, it's a whole different. This could all be one trend where that's like one big wave, another wave. But when we come back to this 4 hour, I would call this a new trend. And I would say the low, it's probably at this 40. And then everything movement from here will probably be to the upside. Now, this is more news driven than the energy trade, which I see more as a necessity. Oh, I'm so sorry, TikTok. You can't really see those charts, can you? Can you see those charts now? Now you can see what I'm talking about. But on USO over here, when we're on this 4 hour, I mean, you could see here, this to me seems so clear that the bottom, our new bottom here is 70. And, you know, last week when we were dipping down to the 72, 71 range, we saw all this consolidation right here. I saw lots of people saying like this is going to head to do lows. But the thing is that China's on lockdowns, and what do you think they're going to do? You think they're going to do that indefinitely? Obviously, this is causing some relief to the market, and it's going to need to come back. And we're not doing anything to actually help the market. The Iran nuclear deal is at like a standstill because, you know, obviously the government is being skittish of giving Iran enough money to just go buy nukes or create nukes, which is, I think everyone could agree that's a pretty smart move. But the pressures that we're building in this energy market are only going to continue to ramp up from here. And that's because of the ESG goalposts that we've continued to set up. At the end of this year, we're going to have more supply chain issues when we expect diesel ships to lower their carbon output by 16%. How do they do that? They run on diesel. They can't do that. Literally the only thing they can do is drive slower. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't make any logical sense, which it tells you that it's, you know, at this point, you just got to say it like it is. It's a religious belief. It's not a belief actually grounded in science. It's not a belief actually grounded in helping things, because that actually makes everything worse. If you actually slow all that down, then you raise prices. And, you know, I say that because the best way to help the environment, listen to me, YouTube and TikTok, this is important. The best way to help the environment is to make the lower class as rich as humanly possible. Do you hear that? The best way to help the environment is to make the lowest class as rich as humanly possible. The richer they are, the more they'll actually care. When you're worried about how much you can get your next meal to you, you don't care if you throw a wrapper on the ground. If you look at these third world countries, as soon as they come out of poverty, they usually clean up their own neighborhoods. It's crazy. If people aren't having existential crises, they actually start to care about the things around them. And one of the things you're going to do that's detrimental to everyone when you make these ships hit these new goalposts, you make them drive slower. You cause more issues to supply chains. You cause energy prices to continue to rise. People are going to have panic. Food's going to go up. It's important, and we talked about this, how gas prices affect food prices. How when that goes up, it hurts everything. And this is terrible. This is catastrophic because you're going to cause mass starvation. And the Russia-Ukraine thing is also playing a role into that. But there are things that we can do that are practical to help fix that. Anyways, we couldn't get to those articles about Elon wanting to take over Twitter. But he did make comments about having a plan B for wanting to incorporate free speech. I just think that's a really interesting story. I think it's really weird that some people are against free speech. And I think that's just, you know, maybe it's a symptom of this new paradigm, which, by the way, tonight I'm hopefully going to have a video up where we talk about population demographics and how probably we're going to have some sort of collapse of population worldwide. There's some experts saying that Nigeria will likely be larger in population than China by the end of the century, which is fast, which is really fast. If you're unaware, that's obnoxiously fast. And it makes sense to me. I think Africa will likely be the next hub of innovation and growth and prosperity. And I think it's in part because they've been the quickest to adapt to the changing world. They've actually the ones that are using crypto the most, using decentralized systems in places where they work. I don't see blockchain as a must which is something we've talked before. The world runs off databases, and everyone's saying, get off the databases, immediately go to blockchain. No. Not everything needs to be on the blockchain. Centralization, in some cases, is not perfect, but good enough. And that's the thing I don't like about the anti-Bitcoin people. It's because they say, well, it's not perfect. Well, look around, bud. Nothing's perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be good enough. And, or better. Slightly better is usually good enough. That's what I'm trying to say. So, super bearish in this market. We broke below 440. That's a pretty rough sign. Volatility continued to climb. It tried to dip below that bullish range that I have set, but we're bouncing right back into the close. We have another half hour left. Looks like might get some capitulation. We're going to have some holder exhaustion. If you're unaware of capitulation is, that's basically it. It's holder exhaustion. People get sick of holding. They dip out. They say adios. They don't want to hold anymore. By the way, I mentioned earlier those TLT longs. I'm still really like those TLT longs because I think when the Fed breaks this market, those will bounce back. Look at what happened with COVID. When COVID hit, boom, 40%, $40 increase into the stock, which actually I think also correlates to like a 33.33% increase to the stock value. And if you traded options on that, well over 1,000% returns on a trade like that. So if it bleeds down 30%, am I going to throw a fit? Yes, I am going to throw a fit. Is the answer to that. I will throw a fit because I don't just let things bleed needlessly. I will throw a fit and lecture myself about my entries. But, not every entry is perfect. I think a lot of people have been surprised about the movement in bond prices because we thought going long would go well. And one of the things that's occurred is the Japanese dollar, the Weston Nakamura, who you should follow on Twitter. And actually, let's go ahead and hype him up on Twitter because this guy is awesome. Let's close that. Let's go over here. Let's search up Weston. Follow him on Twitter. Extra 1,000 followers. Maybe 500. Hey, I'm going to hope that some of that's from me and my TikTok following. If you're on TikTok and you gave Weston a follow, or you haven't given Weston a follow, go do that because Weston's awesome. We love him lots. And he puts out great information. And we would love him to continue to do so because he knows more about FX markets than I do. And so I love learning from him. But 8,000 followers. And follow me on Twitter too. Follow Weston first, then follow me. And then join the Discord. All right. Anyways. But he was putting out some information about how the Japanese dollar has been the worst performing currency over the past month. How that correlates to the U.S., considering that Japan is our largest buyer for debt products. They're the big bond buyers. And so if we don't have that turnout, we could have some ripple effects. And that's about the extent to which I will speak on that due to the lack of expertise that I have in that area. I'm usually pretty quick to dip out of a conversation if I don't know what I'm talking about, especially when it's being recorded. So I'm just going to, if we want to talk about options, if we want to talk about blockchains, I'm here for it. I'm going to mention that because it's a geopolitical issue that could have large market repercussions. But, when I'm already bearish anyways, I'm not seeing a real need to spend, a full 48 hours looking it over, which is what I will do if it is something that I think is essential to dig into. And actually, you know what? I was kind of making fun of just staring at charts and saying, look, it moves. But I do want to see what happened with some of these stocks. I was considering some Yang calls the other day because we saw kind of a short squeeze where actually, it's early at the beginning of this month. Yang was down to $12. But in the past, when China's had turmoil, I mean, this thing squeezed up to $48 before. So I was thinking about buying some calls there just because I see the moves that the Chinese government has made as being bad. And one of the things is Bloomberg's reporting that China's starting to reopen, but they're reopening before there is no more cases. So apparently they're still recording COVID cases, but they're looking to reopen. And for the first time ever, they also started caring about supporting their market. So, I mean, that should cause everyone to stop and go, wait, what's going on in China? Because the CCP does not 180 like that. You know, they let these stocks bleed for a full year. Didn't do anything. Now they're reversing, potentially. There's no confirmation here that I've seen. I haven't seen enough reports to confirm it. But potentially they're going to reopen without ending all the COVID cases. And I mean, they've been rounding up pets. They've been taking away kids from parents. They've seen way more ridiculous reports than that I don't even want to say because I don't have real confirmation of them. I'm just kind of going off the actual videos that I've seen. But one second, I got a kitty cat that's trapped in here and he's trying to get out. Here, buddy. I don't want to sponsor unverified reports or, contribute to misinformation, but I do want to participate in the discussion and what's being reported on. And I do see those things as concerning. But the fact that China would 180 like that, it just makes me think that maybe they've come across some data that no one else has when it comes to their effect on them. And it's important to not just pay attention to what the Fed is doing. It's happening in the U.S. because that's literally the world's second largest economy with major trade globally. If they collapse, it's going to hurt everyone. Everyone will feel it. There will be no avoiding that. So I see that as definitely worth taking note of. So that's what's been going on. That's what's been on my mind. That's the news that's caught my radar. What I see, that TSM selling off after earnings gave me some worry about what's going on in the other chip companies. Market meltdown. As soon as I saw it react like that, I immediately switched out of my bullish positions and into more bearish ones. So I think that is the proper move. And I'm getting another call. Sorry. So any questions? TikTok? Anything spike your interest? Anything you want to know about the market? Been covering kind of what happened this week, what's going to happen next week. Yang, probably a good trade. It's not a game of whether or not China's got some trouble on the way because of population demographics, which I will do, that video, I'm hoping to finish that video tonight. That video took a bunch of research because I had to learn more about the Roman Empire. And I really don't want to talk about it any more than that, even though I'm really tempted to just spout off everything I've been kind of learning about when it comes to that, plays into that, and the effect that population demographics are going to have, and the fourth turning conversation, and the New World Order conversation, and all such things. We're going to have a new series on that. I'm calling this series This Is the End because there seems to be an existential trend on the social medias where everyone wants to talk about. I guess we could talk about how that is actually a cultural thing. So, we had that movie Don't Look Up. And if you compare the culture now to the culture when the movie... oh, no. My brain quit working. War of the Worlds came out. Compare our culture to the culture of War of the Worlds came out. They're very similar. Everything's very existential. Everything's this is unfixable. This is the worst. This is terrible. And then you compare, other cultural trends. Everyone wants to talk about gender identity. Some people are saying, well, this is progressive. This is the first time it has ever occurred, which isn't true, actually. Every major society before the collapse has the similar conversation. And even the Roman Empire. There's a Roman emperor who challenged the gender norms right before they collapsed. Am I saying that talking about gender norms means that there's going to be a collapse of society? Absolutely not. I'm just telling you what's occurred. I'm just telling you history. That's what's happened. So, you can make whatever assumptions you want about it. I'm not going to tell you how to think. I'm just going to tell you what's happened. What to think and what I think. And I think I don't need to make an assumption. I don't need to make it. I don't see any reason why I need to draw a conclusion from that. I know some people, I listen to the reports. I also track a lot of big names. And I feel like they're so quick to jump to conclusions on things like that. And I just don't see the point. I'm going to track populations, money, finance, trading, and try to bring you help in that area and just kind of bring you some historical reference for how I'm putting together my narrative for what's going on in today's world. And I think the lack of births plays into the fact that we're having this huge challenging of social norms. And I think that people also have been told for many years that there's too many people on this planet. There's just far too many people on this planet. And we've got to put a stop to so many useless people. But then think about it. China graduates more engineers than even exist in this country. And I'm already breaking down what I said I wasn't going to break down about the population demographics. If you thought that was interesting, we'll do another video on it. And that'll be out later tonight. So make sure you follow. We're also going to be doing 2 podcasts next week. One was supposed to occur today. That got rescheduled, which is why we're doing our live stream right now. I'll be interviewing 2 engineers next week, next Monday, that work for major utility companies. We're going to talk about oil, energy, electricity, gas energy, uranium, and their perspective on the politics of the situation and the technological innovations that exist. I'm going to ask them what they're excited about in the future. That'll be a lengthy podcast with 2 people who are electrical design engineers who work directly in infrastructure. And so I'm super excited about that because I hear lots of economists, and traders talk about these topics, but they have no background in it. If you watch the All In podcast, that was 4 billionaires that were saying, oh, if we just build a bunch of solar panels everywhere, we'll fix everything. Everything will just be fixed. But when I talk to people in the Discord who are actual engineers who actually work with solar, they say that's so stupid, it's laughable. So I think it'll be good to bring some more technical information to people's attention on the actual probability of that occurring and the lack of sustainability or safety that will provide to infrastructure. And so I think a conversation like that would be great. And I want to hear their input on uranium. I put out big research videos on uranium on the YouTube. If you're on TikTok, if you go to the bio, you can find the YouTube link there. And there's a big research video that I did on nuclear energy, which has been probably one of my biggest and best trades over the past year. And I've mentioned it probably too much, but it's worked out well. So, what do you want me to do? At least I'm not Peter Schiff and talking about gold every minute or every day for 2 decades. Anyways, I derailed myself. Oh, after that podcast, we're doing another podcast with someone who's also running a Discord that's like mine. Well, not really, because I had different plans with mine, which we talked about before. But he's also got a bunch of traders. He works in fintech and the technologies. I'm not going to say any names of anyone yet, because we might, for the engineers, we might have to keep them anonymous because they, actively work for their companies. There's certain things their companies want them to to not say. So they also have to get approval on all that information. But I'm super excited for those podcasts. I've been wanting to do more of them, and hopefully next week those will start coming out. And hopefully everyone finds those beneficial. So that's about what I'm looking at. I guess we should mention the dollar milkshake theory and how the US dollar keeps climbing in value. We did talk about how the Japanese dollar even underperformed Russian rubles over the past month, which just let that sink in how ridiculous that is. And let it sink in how you've probably not heard about it whatsoever. All right, because it is a big deal, but no one's talking about it whatsoever. Everyone's more focused on Elon, not even mentioning it, which in one part is because it's extremely complex and it's even outside my span of expertise. But the dollar milkshake theory is something that I've already spent a good amount of time researching on and making sure that I'm well informed on, because I think it's a huge potentiality for what could occur over the next few years. And we're kind of seeing it continue to play out. I mean, we have DXY pulled up. This is US dollar futures. If we go to the year-long graph, we can see, over the past year, this has done nothing but climb up. The value of the US dollar, despite all the money printing, despite all the fears that the dollar would collapse, has done nothing but climb. Why? Because when we print money, other countries have to print even more money. And so this causes potential. Was that a question? What did TikTok just say? Okay, I thought that was a question. If you have any questions at any point in time, ask. When we print money, other countries have to print even more money to keep up with our money printing. And that's because everyone has to use US dollars. And when they have to do that, it kind of balances everything out to the extent that, you could go through the nitty-gritty numbers and probably find some, sharp ratios of differences in performance over that time period. But for the most part, it kind of balances out. If everyone does money printing, then there's no real reason for us to collapse. And since we're top dog, we get to set the trend. We get to have that position of privilege over control of money supply for pretty much everyone. And right now, the only thing that really would disrupt that would be the oil conversation going on in the Middle East, and how that kind of correlates to, Russia saying, fine, we'll leave the SWIFT payment system. And it seems like there's a trio little network going on. This is somewhat speculation, but it seems like China is wanting to change oil over to their currency. So if oil's traded in the Chinese yuan, that could cause some challenge to the dominance of the US dollar. But it's important to understand how difficult that would really be. And people are saying the dollar isn't backed by gold, the dollar is not backed by anything. Basically, the US dollar is backed by oil. And that's just because that's what it's mostly used to trade for. But not the only thing. When China buys steel from Australia, they also use US dollars. Not Australian dollars, not Chinese yuans, US dollars. And that's not the only example of that occurring. Oh, important to know, market's closed tomorrow. Hopefully everyone's already been aware of that, but market is closed. And I hope you all have a wonderful Easter. And if you don't celebrate Easter, I hope you have a wonderful 3-day weekend. Yay, celebrate. It's a good time anyways, right? Hey, maybe open an egg, eat some candy anyways. No one's going to judge you. But that's one on my mind for this week. Super bearish pretty much all summer. And check out the most recent YouTube video if you'd like to hear more about that conversation. If you'd like to hear more about the conversation about population demographics, the new paradigm, and the fourth turning, we'll be putting out a video later tonight. And next week, we're going to be talking about business building, entrepreneurship, and energy as it applies to American infrastructure. So I will see you all then. I hope you enjoyed this quick little half-hour live stream. The market is continuing to break down into the close. We are in puts. Those puts probably look beautiful. And I guess we'll end this with a market prediction. And what do I want to predict? Actually, let's look at IWM real quick before I say it. IWM at 199. Wow, it's really tried to battle this out. It's really wanted to hold up. You know, IWM is the Russell 2000. It should be struggling a lot more than the big caps, but we're not really seeing that occur. And this would be because of squeeze potentials there. And that could also be because there's probably more mispricing going on in the Russell 2000. There's probably a lot of companies who have heavy debt but solid paths to profitability that you could see swing to the upside on their earnings calls depending on how their forward-looking guidance is. And remember, that is what always matters on these company earnings calls. And that's always what people are going to look for. Do they have a path of profitability? Can they handle money being more expensive? And a changing market environment. Who the CEO is going to matter a lot too. I was really bearish on Snow until I learned about Snow CEO. And this guy literally called himself a wartime CEO. He's ready for battle, ready for a rough economy and troubling markets. And he set the company up in a position where they can manage that. Smart guy. So the market prediction, I think we hit 420. I think the S&P index hits 420 by the end of the month. And I think that there is some potential, some small potential, not enough of a probability for me to trade on it, but enough of a probability for it to occur that before we see 420 at the end of the month, we could see 450. That's what I'm going to call. Regardless of whether or not we hit 450 this month, I think by the end of the month, we see 420. There's quite a lot of bleeding. And then I think the market bottom will be mentioned in our private Sunday video that you can watch if you are a subscriber in the Discord. And on that note, I will see you later today. I hope you enjoyed the live stream. Love your face. And bye. Oh, whoops. You will not be able to reconnect. Your stream will stop and you will no longer be live.